Hello, good morning and welcome to NewsDesk. Today we start with directors of cement manufacturing companies because they are to face penalties for non-compliance with Trade Minister's proposed legislative instrument which seeks to regulate cement prices. We'll hear from Katie Hammond, who is defending the LI amidst fierce opposition from minority in Parliament.
In case of body corporate, every director and officer of that body corporate is deemed to have committed that offense, if it is the case that you have the offense.
Today we'll bring you an exclusive interaction with Bernard Anyavo, his ranking member on the Legal Affairs Committee in Parliament, and also would hear from him on his thoughts about the pre-laying of this airline. In this bulletin as well as Santihini Otunfo Sesutu II pushing for the retooling of Konfanoti Teaching Hospital after doctors in the oncology department withdrew their services, demanding the installation of essential equipment in the treatment of cancer patients.
Identified with those concerns, and the assurances were once again given to them as to the steps that were being taken to address those concerns, and on the basis of that, they've resumed work.
We also have business in this bulletin. My name is Faustina Safa. Take a seat, be my guest. Thanks for choosing us. Now, cement manufacturers are kicking against the adoption of a proposed legislative instrument by the Trade and Industry Minister, Katie Hammond, which seeks to regulate cement prices. Now, under the LI, cement manufacturers could face up to 3 years jail term. Board of Directors for cement manufacturing companies could also be punished if they fail to adhere to the provisions of the LI. While the minority in Parliament has already blocked the laying of this legislative instrument, arguing that it must go through pre-laying before coming to the floor. But Katie Hammond disagrees. He shared details of that LI exclusively to my colleague Evans Spencer on PN Extras.
So what we're asking the LI will be asking the committee, as a committee, no, it's not a different committee. It's mandating the committee established under this one, to take charge of that. And what they will be doing is this: make sure that there's an upper band within which...
So you are establishing a price ceiling?
Yes, a ceiling kind of thing, within which they should operate. But we simply are not going to give you a band. You know, the band will be there, but we're going to be very specific with your company. We're telling you by this that let us understand your pricing factors, your cost structure, and then based on that, everybody understand. Let there be transparency. Let us know. Of course, there will be this publication that I've told you about. But of course, to arrive at how much you want to charge, let's understand what.
But within the price ceiling.
Of course, within the price ceiling. So price regulation, it will be regulation paragraph number 4. And it says this: the committee shall, as a committee, in establishing the maximum allowable retail price for cement, consider the following. Okay. And the consideration would include A, the ex-factory price of cement, ex-factory, and then the cost of the preparation of the production account for the sale of cement, all the cost factors. The cost of transportation of cement, the related costs. There'll be so many other related costs. And of course, this is a critical one, a reasonable profit margin. I don't think it is absurd to suggest that you should have a reasonable and not outrageous profit margin. And, so these are the factors that are going to be taken into consideration. They decide not to comply at the peril of the penalty.
What penalties are you proposing?
Well, it's pretty hefty.
Well, that's what I would like to know, yes.
I'll tell you, 3 years imprisonment, or both, of fine and imprisonment. So, yeah, a person who contravenes what I've just indicated to you is liable conviction to the penalty points. We're talking about 2,500. The unit points, I think the multiplication of 12 or something is 2,500 penalty units. You convert that, I think it's 12 cities or whatever. So how much that one comes to is the fine. And then maximum 4,000 penalty units. And that's what see, these companies, they are big ones. And so if you limit them to fines, they will easily pay the fines and then come back and replicate the same whatever they want to do. So there's a stiffer one here. Now, imprisonment of not less than 2 years, and of course not more than 3 years, or both, fine and distance. But we don't leave it at that. You know, corporate responsibility and corporate whatever. So you well be thinking that, well, you can't put a company into prison. And so we go on to make clear that if it's a corporate...
who specifically suffers this?
So here, you know, you want to hear...
If you can detail that for us.
You want to hear that one?
Yes, I want
to. You're not a company director in any of the cement manufacturers.
For public education, yes. Who suffers that?
All right, so we have it here. In case of body corporate, every director and officer of that body corporate is deemed to have committed that offense, if it is the case that you have the offense. In case of a firm partnership, you know, firms and partnership, they have a different categorization. So remember, management, the firm of the any concern with the management of the firm is deemed to have committed that offense. So,
so the manufacturers then will bear this penalty.
Yes,
that's
not the
individual. So for the directors of the manufacturing company. So if this is an example. Sure. If it is the Jata manufacturing company, the directors, if they put out cement on the market at the price above the price ceiling,
exactly the ceiling,
then they will.
And you see the ceiling, and I think we should be comfortable about this. The ceiling is not going to be unilateral.
Well, the minority in Parliament blocked the laying of the bill on the floor on Wednesday. They argued that this LI must go through pre-laying stages before finally being laid on the floor. Now, we have in the studio Bernard Ahiafo, his ranking member on the Legal Affairs Committee. We'll speak to him shortly, but first, Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante joins us with details. Now, on the part of the minority, they insist that this must go through pre-laying. You were on the floor that day. What was the Speaker's posture?
Then presiding to actually give the committee, the subsidiary legislation committee, about 48 hours to consider this legislation and then bring it to the parliament so that they can lay it. The speaker did indicate that he was asking the committee to expeditiously deal with this legislation, but he did not give timeline. The minority position canvassed then by Bernard Ahiafo was that the pre-laying stage was such a time-honored principle. This is something that Parliament has been doing for so long. He really believes that for such a crucial legislation, and he did in fact go to the point where he struck the similarities between an LI and a bill. And a bill is much more substantive in terms of its legality and as a law, and LI is a subservient regulation. He believes that if you allow a pre-laying stage, then you allow all these issues that may come up to be dealt with before that LI is laid. So he made that spirited argument on the floor, which the Speaker of Parliament endorsed, and that LI has not yet been laid because it first has to go through pre-laying.
And what was the Speaker's posture?
The Speaker did indicate that he was not going to give the committee any timelines to work on this, but he wanted them to deal with this expeditiously and return to the House. The majority's position is that this LI needs to go through the 21 sitting days procedure, which will mean that if this LI is not laid quite expeditiously, that 21 days count may be missed. And that is why they want that 21 sitting days issue to be dealt with expeditiously. So if this LI is laid on Friday, the 21 sitting days will start counting, and probably the count will conclude before Parliament goes on break at the end of July or early August. And that is why the Speaker is asking the committee to expeditiously deal with this pre-laying procedure and then get back to the floor so that this LI can be laid.
Thank you, Kweku Asante. Thankfully, I have ranking member of the Parliament's Legal Affairs Committee in the studio. He is here to give us more light on this and why the minority is pushing against this LI to be laid in the House. Bernard Ahiafo, thank you so much for your time here on Newsdesk. Now, let's start with the substantive issue. Some of the key provisions of this LI is that if I am a cement manufacturer, I'm most likely to face a 3-year jail term. I'm sure that's one of the reservations you have for this LI, isn't it?
Well, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. Let me also use the opportunity to say a very good morning to your cherished viewers and listeners, not forgetting the people of Akachi South constituency whose thumb brought me so far. In fact, as a matter of fact, there is a laid-down principle, practice and convention in Parliament, that if LI, that is legislative instrument and constitutional instrument, are going to be laid in Parliament, it must be taken through a pre-laying exercise. And the reason being that by a constitutional imperative in Article 11.7, once the LI is laid, you can't even have the power to cross T or a dot by Supreme Court interpretation, unless you have 2/3 majority to annul it. So instead of Parliament being confronted with marshalling 2/3 to annul a legislative instrument, the practice was even introduced in Parliament before I joined Parliament in 2013, that any constitutional instrument, any legislative instrument, which are subsidiary legislation, we call them subsidiary legislation, must first go through a subsidiary legislation committee of Parliament. And it is at that level that the T and the dots are carried out before the introduction. And when the committee completes that particular exercise, whatever corrections, whatever deletions, whatever amendment that is proposed to the LI will then be carried out, and then the document will be brought to the leadership of the committee, who will go through that whatever the committee has agreed with the sponsors, what the content is actually talking about, then it is laid. Then when it is laid, after 21 sitting days, it becomes law automatically, unless Parliament by a 2/3 majority annul it. But the LI in question was being introduced in Parliament without going through the practice and convention procedure laid down by Parliament. That is, going through the subsidiary legislation pre-laying. So we'll pick up an issue with it that we need not deviate from a time-established principle in Parliament, which states that subsidiary legislation such as LI or constitutional instrument, before being laid in Parliament, under Article 11.7, must go through that particular pre-laying. And because this one did not go through pre-laying, we raise an issue about it, of the necessity for it to go through pre-laying.
Now, you've seen a copy of this LI, haven't you?
Yes, I've seen a copy of it.
Let's talk about the key proposals that the Trades Minister, Katie Hammond, is making.
Yes.
Imprisoning cement manufacturers for as much as 3 years if they fail to comply with the legislation. Board of Directors will also be penalized. What's the minority's thoughts on this?
Well, by a procedure, the committee will have to look at the Parent Act under which the LI is being proposed. That is, by the LI, they are coming under the Ghana Standard Authority Act. Whether whatever they are proposing in the LI is sanctioned by the Ghana Standard Authorities Act, the committee will have to satisfy itself with that. Now, the penalty that they are proposing in the LI, is it a penalty which is in consonance with the Parent Act under which they are bringing the law? And as we speak right now, the committee is converging to have a meeting to go through that particular exercise. So I have looked at the Ghana Standards Authority Act. I have looked at the LI. I believe strongly that some provisions of the LI will be in conflict with the Parent Act, under which they are bringing the LI. And the committee is going to critically take a look at all those things. And once the committee is converging now to meet, I wouldn't want to take the wind out of the shell of the committee.
And that's the ranking, because you're ranking on the Legal Affairs Committee, are you referring to the Legal Affairs Committee?
Yes, no, the Constitution of Subsidiary Legislation.
Committee.
So
it means that Katie Hammond has hitherto advised.
Yes, so the committee will be going through the exercise, of which I am a member of that particular committee. So immediately after the studio, I'll be joining the committee to do the exercise. So we'll look critically at the Parent Act, look critically at this thing, because the Ghana Standards Authority is to set a standard. It's more or less quality control measures rather than price control. So we'll look at the law critically and come into a determination as to whether or not the law allows the minister responsible for trade and industry to come out with price control, and whether or not failure to comply with issues relating to price control, he has the power to bring a subsidiary legislation to impose sanctions, and whether those sanctions are within the ambit of the law. That exactly is what the committee will be doing.
But then there are concerns that the minority is speaking a posture of continuously objecting to everything brought before the floor by the majority. Is that the case when it comes to this legislative instrument?
No. Then they are getting it wrong. We collaborate with them in making laws for the country. When it comes to lawmaking, the law doesn't regulate any political party. It regulates all of us. Therefore, we are very instrumental when it comes to lawmaking. If you take lawmaking on the floor without the minority, so people who feel that laws are being brought and the minority is trying to block, they are under a very erroneous impression, which is not the reality on the ground. We all want to do what will be in the best interest of our dear country, Ghana.
But you agree that the price of cement has skyrocketed and is making it difficult for the construction industry to survive. So the minority, what's your proposal when you go into this meeting?
Well, danger begets man, the cry of distress summons for relief. There are cement manufacturers. So all you need to do is to engage the cement manufacturers and then let them tell you the factors responsible for increase in the price of cement. And let's see how we can together deal with those factors. I believe in every industry there are cost factors. So you look at those cost factors and then reasonably the determination of the price would be made. And I believe economically there are price determinants which we cannot run away from. One is maybe the exchange rate. One may be your interest rate. So if economically you work on the determinants of the price of a commodity, definitely nobody will ask that the price should go down. It will go down automatically. For instance, if the cement manufacturers are importing a component of their products or the raw material in order to manufacture a cement, 3 months ago, an item that they will have to import at an exchange rate of $1 is to 12 Ghana cedis. Today, it's now $1 to 16 Ghana cedis. So definitely, even if the price remains the same, the increase or the difference in the exchange rate will add up to the increase in the price. Are you getting my point? So there are factors to be. If today the dollar, instead of 16 cedis, has dropped to 10 cedis, then correspondingly, the amount of money that will be spent on importing that particular raw materials will be reduced. It accords with common sense and reason for you to also automatically reduce your price. So I'm just using the exchange rate as one of the determinants of the price of a commodity in the country. So we have a lot to do as a country. I mean, to work on our exchange rate, to work on our interest rate. If you've been taking bank loan in order to produce cement, and the loan is at the interest rate of 10%, it means that you have to factor that into your cost of the product that you are manufacturing. However, if the interest is at 30%, that will also be factored into the price, the cost of production, as well as the price of the commodity that you are producing. So there are a whole lot of economic factors that may go to determine the price of a commodity. But I am not an economist. So this is the little that I can say about that.
But
nevertheless, there is even a petition emanating from
the Cement Manufacturers Association. Has that petition reached your office?
Yes, it has reached us. And they are saying that they have not been consulted.
Yes.
And that's a preliminary issue of the committee. The committee will find out from the sponsoring agency whether they have done a stakeholder engagement. And if so, is there any evidence of a stakeholder engagement? Because we are making law to govern this particular country, and every law has stakeholders. I think this is within the spirit of the Constitution in Article 106, such that even if it is a bill that we are making into law, unless the bill is taken under a certificate of agency, it is supposed to be gazetted 14 days prior to its introduction. And the gazette is to give notice to the entire public that this law is before a parliament, or the bill is before parliament, and it will go through the stages to become law. And there, the public is invited, if they have input into the bill becoming a law, they then give input to any member of parliament who represented them and then carry their views across. They are complaining that as cement producers, major stakeholders in this regard, they have not been consulted regarding
regarding the ELA.
There should be a consultation, because living together is just a matter of understanding. If you sit with the cement manufacturers, they will be able, or you will be able to even have an understanding as to the challenges that they are facing and how those challenges can be surmounted, leading to a drop in the price of the cement. So it is together we all work towards ensuring that the price of cement has reduced, making the cost of construction very, very low.
K.T. Hammond, in his defense, yeah, of course it is. In his defense, K.T. Hammond says he indeed went through some level of stakeholder engagement. Now, should it come up in the meeting, what would be the minority posture in that meeting?
Well, this is not emanating from the minority, but it's emanating from the cement manufacturers. So if there is evidence, the petition has listed the petitioners. If there is evidence that they have gone through a consultation, well, those who wrote the petition will also be consulted, that this is the evidence that you have gone through this consultation process. Why then are you petitioning that you have not been consulted? So the truth will become bare, whether the consultation has been done or not, before the committee. I believe by now, the committee might have even invited those who brought the petition, because they must be there to justify the petition. So the minister responsible for trade and industry will also be there, the petitioners will also be there, and the evidence will be brought before the committee. And once there is a clear evidence that the consultation has been done, then the committee will treat the petition with the contempt that it deserves, because we are in for the truth. And if it turns out that the petitioners have not been engaged in this regard, then we'll ask the minister responsible, you claim you have engaged them, but here they are, that they have not been engaged. Do you have evidence of that engagement? Because at those engagements, minute is taken, and the attendance list would even reveal that part of the petitioners might be in that particular meeting. So they will be confronted. You write your name and sign in attendance. You write your name, and a minute is then taken. And at the end of the day, there is a closing prayer. So if there is evidence that the consultation has been done, well, then it goes down to how the committee will be treating the petition that they have received. But if not, the committee may urge upon the minister responsible for trade and industry to engage the stakeholders.
Well, we'll be looking forward to that engagement as we wrap up. Key things the minority would be raising in the meeting when you meet this afternoon.
Well, the meeting is this morning. As I'm here at the studio, they are converging to have the meeting.
Okay.
So they may even start the meeting before I go. So the procedure at the meeting is that there will be self-introduction, both the sponsors, if the AG is there, if the stakeholders are there, and then the committee members will also introduce themselves together with the constituencies that they represent. Now, the sponsors or the minister responsible for trade and industry in this case will be given an opportunity to give a background to the entire committee why the need for this particular regulation. And after that, the committee members will have the opportunity to ask a preliminary question before the committee will resolve to look at the regulation by regulation, one after the other, regulation 1, regulation 1.2, regulation 1.3, before the committee will do that. And at that level, the issue of the stakeholder engagement will also be addressed. And whether or not the regulation is empowered by the Parent Act, it will also be addressed, because the committee will put the Parent Act down and put the regulation down. This is what the Parent Act is saying. This is what your regulation is saying. Do you think your regulation is within the ambit of the Parent Act? And there we agree and disagree. And then go through the regulation from the regulation 1 till the end of the regulations. After that, we go through the schedules, if the regulation has a schedules. And then the chairman will give a closing remark, urging upon the sponsors and then the AG, that whatever recommendations that the committee made to the regulation, those recommendations should be carried out. If it is an amendment proposed by the committee, then the chairman will urge upon.
Will the minority propose an amendment?
Well, if you are a minority member, you are a majority member, the regulation is before you. We are making the regulation for the country. So you can propose an amendment.
Will Bernard Ahiafo make recommendations?
Yes, why not?
Will you want amendments to this current LI, knowing fully well that you've seen the document?
I have sat in a lot of meetings. I propose amendments. Even if you are interested in parliamentary debate on bills, you will see me proposing.
Yeah, so are you going to propose an amendment looking at this bill?
If the need be.
But you've seen it. You're looking at this LI, you've seen it. You've seen the LI.
Yes, I've seen the LI.
Will you make proposals for an amendment?
There are hurdles that we'll have to cross. The hurdles that we'll have to cross is that, as a lawyer, I am looking at the Standard Authority Act. You understand?
Okay.
The Ghana Standard Authority Act. I am also looking at the regulations. So I must be satisfied that the LI in the first place is within the ambit of the Ghana Standard Authority Act. That is the parent act. If I am not satisfied that the regulation is within the ambit of the Ghana Standard Authority Act, what do I propose an amendment? It's just like putting something on nothing and expecting it to stand. It will never stand. So I must be convinced that the regulation is sanctioned by the Parent Act made by Parliament. No aspect of the regulation is in violation of the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana in the first place, and the Parent Act, for that matter, any other laws of the Republic of Ghana. When that hurdle is crossed, then we move in to whether the stakeholders have been concerned. Chairman, the stakeholders have not been concerned, have not been consulted. How do we deal with this particular issue? We cross that particular
So we'll be looking forward to it.
The way is clear for us to look at the provisions of the regulation, regulation by regulation, until we get to the end of it. And so many proposals may come to beef up the regulation. Then after that, it is laid in Parliament, and the committee may write a report to support the LI, or the committee may write a report to urge upon the House to marshal to third majority to annul the LI within the ambit of Article 11.7 of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana.
So we'll leave you to go to that crucial meeting. We'll be monitoring the situation and give our audience updates. Thank you for your time here on News Text. Now let's head to Wale Wale, where there was a standoff between members of the NPP and police station members at Wulensi police station last night after dozens of MPP supporters besieged the facility to stop the police from transporting 2 ballot boxes and the party's voters register to Tamale following a high court order on Monday in an ongoing election dispute. Now, the court ordered the ballot boxes and the register used for the January parliamentary elections in the constituency to be brought to the Electoral Commission. Now, the Electoral Commission responded to the order by handing over the materials to the police for onward delivery to the court. But when armed police arrived at about 8 p.m. yesterday to carry out the materials to Tamale, they were blocked by angry supporters of the party. Correspondent Ilyasu Tango reports.
The Tamale High Court on Monday, June 24th, in the ongoing parliamentary primaries dispute between the candidate-elect Dr. Tia Mahama Kabiru and the defeated incumbent member of parliament Hajia Lariba Zuiratu Abudu, asked for the ballot boxes containing the vote cast as well as the party's constituency voters register used for the January election. In adherence, the Electoral Commission in the district handed over the materials to the police for onward submission to the court. However, as some police personnel arrived at around 8 p.m. Wednesday to transport the materials to Tamale, angry party supporters surrounded the premises of the police station and prevented the movement of the electoral materials.
We are not leaving here unless they are taking the papers tomorrow. We can't leave here because they don't take papers at night. Police people don't work at night. So we can't allow them to take the papers, if not daytime. That's why we are here. Whether yes or yes, we are not living here.
We are not going to allow anybody to go along with the ballot box. Why? But where did you get that information from? We got the information from through phone calls that MC and the regional minister are talking. That's why the crowd is here like that. And we are here to see that no one is going with the ballot box, even not daytime. So where is the ballot box? Do you know where the police station, please? And you said you will not allow the ballot box? No one is picking the ballot box tonight, if not tomorrow in the daytime. Whereby a car will move with the ballot box and escort them to Tamale. Some of the supporters wrongly accused the regional minister, who was on a tour in the area, and the municipal chief executive of conniving to tamper with the electoral materials in favor of the defeated member of parliament. The presence of the angry supporters created a long standoff in the vicinity of the police station as armed police personnel cocked their guns and ready to prevent the supporters from overrunning the police building. Some of the supporters also took on the vice president and the MPP's parliamentary candidate, Dr. Mahamudu Baumia, for failing to show leadership by not calling the defeated member of parliament to order.
We don't need any we need justice. We have won the election, so we need justice. We don't need anything. Nothing is going to take tonight. They brought it there daytime, and it is going to be taken here daytime. God daylight. Nobody is going to take it tonight. Okay. We are ready for everything.
Meanwhile, tension continued to brew across the constituency after the police secured a court ruling injuncting a planned street protest against the party leadership for the escalation divisions among and within the party's base in the constituency. Ilyasu Tanko reporting from Wulensi for Joy News.
Well, let me bring in Ilyasu Tango. He's been monitoring the situation. He joins us live with more. What's the mood in the area this morning, Ilyasu? You'd have to unmute so that I can hear you clearly. Ilyasu Tanko is joining us to give us details about this back and forth that happened at Wulensi. We received information that there was confrontation between NPP supporters and policemen at the police station at Wulensi. And we're getting updates from our correspondent on the ground, Ilyasu Tanko. Ilyasu, if you have joined now with your audio, I want to find out from you what's the mood in the area this morning.
Well, it's been very cloudy morning in Wulensi. So there's less activity in town because of the rain. But we know that our party supporters NPP party supporters are not happy with the happenings in the constituency. As you said yesterday, the party supporters besieged the police station, trying to stop the police from transporting ballot boxes and the party's voter album to Tamale. So there has been growing confusion as we speak. There's a planned protest that has been halted by the police, and we are getting information that the supporters are planning to defy the police and then go ahead with this particular protest on Saturday. So there's a lot of chaos in the FCC, in the Wale constituency.
Now, Ilyasu, what's the posture of the police as we speak? Because we know that after this back and forth, they had to calm the supporters.
Exactly. What we are getting, the reports we are getting is that the police have been able to move the ballot boxes and the voter register to Tamale as requested by the court. So they calm the police station. Yesterday, we understand that some of the party supporters tried to help vigil in front of the police station. And this morning, the police station is very quiet. The party supporters are depressed. And as I just mentioned, we are getting reports that the police have since this morning been able to transport the ballot boxes and the voters are from the
Thank you, Ilyasu Tanko, joining us from Northeast region, giving us updates on what happened yesterday. NPP supporters clashed with the police when they tried to prevent them from transporting the ballot box. We're monitoring the situation closely and bring you updates as and when we have it. Let's take you now to Ho, because the Ho High Court has set July 2 for John Peter Amewo to testify in a case seeking the court to invalidate his election as the Member of Parliament for Hohoi, among other things. Now, this was after the court admitted 2 new issues filed by the council for the second correspondent, John Peter Amewo, after hours of legal exchange. Well, the issues are whether or not the Honourable Court has the power to declare the enactment of CI 128 violated Article 49(5) of the 1992 Constitution, and whether or not the court has the power to declare the first respondent had no power to place the Sal communities under the Jasikine district, which was under CI 119 per Article 47(5) of the 1992 Constitution. Our counsel for Peter Amewo spoke to the media after the court proceedings.
Now, the question that has suddenly popped up is as to whether or not the High Court will have jurisdiction to declare null and void or to set aside a subsidiary legislation that has been laid before Parliament. We are of the opinion that no, based on the dictates of Article 2(1) and Article 130 of the 1992 Constitution, we believe that such declarations or such determinations as to the constitutionality of any subsidiary legislation should be a matter of the Supreme Court. That is why we have set down the new issues, which new issues we believe should be first set down as a preliminary matter, or under the dictates of Article 132 of the 1992 Constitution. Such matters should be referred to the Supreme Court for determination, and after the Supreme Court determines, the matter will be referred to, may be referred back to the High Court.
Apart from, we know that in this case, I mean, the effect of the case might become moot by the end of this year, which is just 6 months away. The other party might be accusing you of deliberately delaying the case to render it moot because of what is evident in 6 months. Well, how do you respond to that?
Well, certainly, given we are in court to do certain things before the expiration of certain time. But then we are in court applying the rules of court. While they may have that opinion, everybody will have recourse to look at the rules, the way we are proceeding as to whether the applications or the new processes that we are filing are deliberate with the intention to delay proceedings. They are not. We are only moving within the express stipulations of the rules of courts. Well, it's about the same issues, but it is the rendition. It is the semantics interplay with it. The issues, the fact that before you declare, of course, they have not come directly saying that this CI or this constitutional instrument should be set aside. But they, maybe deliberately, the way they couch it, so that it does not look on the face of it as if they are in court to set aside a subsidiary legislation. But to say that they should declare the elections, the parliamentary elections, null and void.
Well, let's take you to the Ashanti region because the Asantehene Otumfuo Tutu II has added his voice to calls for the retooling of Konfanoti Teaching Hospital. This comes after some doctors in the oncology department of the hospital went on strike demanding the activation of an essential equipment in the treatment of cancer patients. Now, though the doctors have called off their strike, the Asantehene says the lives of all are threatened by the absence of essential equipment for healthcare delivery. Naya Ojima visited the hospital with the health minister and filed this report.
The Asantehene is appalled by the absence of essential equipment for healthcare delivery. His checks at the cardio unit of the Konfanoti Teaching Hospital has revealed the need for some life-saving equipment at the facility.
We struggle with basic equipment. Dialysis machines are hard to come by here. They tell me Kath lacks some life-saving equipment. If I have an emergency and I am taken there, they may not be able to treat me. Where do they take me then? By the time I am taken to Accra, something bad would have happened.
The need for retooling of the hospital was also emphasized by management of the hospital when the health minister visited. Explaining the strike embarked by some doctors, the chief executive of the hospital, Professor Ochre Ademensa, says the facility has incurred a huge cost of fixing the LINAC machine at the oncology department. But for the effective use of the machine, there was need to acquire a water phantom at $109,000 for the calibration after inability to fix the machine. Professor Ademensa explains the necessary measures had been taken to procure the equipment before the strike.
The water phantom had also broken down, and there was a need to either fix it or get a new one. Our engineers tried very hard, and then realized that we needed to buy one at the end of the day because we could not fix it. They cost $109,000, which was not budgeted for. But we were convinced that, given the fact that Konfanoti is the second cancer center in Ghana, public, there was a need for us to fix it so that the number of patients who were coming here with various cancers could be attended to. So we started the processes. The LCs were done and sent out. Unfortunately, we had a letter sent to us by about 9 doctors from oncology to say that it has taken too long for the machine to be fixed, and that by a certain date, if the machine was not fixed, they were not going to see patients.
Health Minister Dr. Bernard Okuboy has assured of working with the hospital to realize the set objectives.
I mean, anyone who finds himself or herself in the middle belt, should you get a medical emergency, you are likely to land here, depending on the degree of the emergency. So, working together with CATH to address your challenges is in our interest. All of us are interested. Because the next time I might be the one in these 2,500 visits, my count might be in. I want to give you the assurance that we'll work speedily to help the retooling. hospitals like this, because of the numbers, sometimes even when you get equipment or tools, within a short time, you need replacement and all that. So we appreciate the concerns, and we are going to work closely with you.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health has donated 100,000 cedis towards the Heal Konfanochi project, which is aimed at renovating parts of the hospital. For Joy News, Nanaya Ojima, Kumasi.
We're taking a quick breather. We'll be back with business, so stay tuned in.
Welcome back. It's now time for Business on News Desk. My name is Winston Taki, and now to our first business story. In a significant step towards a more sustainable financial sector, the Chartered Institute of Bankers Ghana, Environmental Protection Agency, and International Finance Corporation have joined forces to launch an environmental, social, and governance certification program. Here's more in this report.
Studies have shown that financial institutions are not immune to the environmental and social impact of their activities. As environmental and social considerations become increasingly important, the risks become more pronounced. To this end, the Chartered Institute of Bankers believes that it is time to highlight the importance of a sustainable environment. Speaking to Joy Business after the launch of the Environmental, Social and Governance Certification Program, the Chief Executive Officer of the Chartered Institute of Bankers Ghana, Robert Jato, said the certification provides an opportunity to access affordable financing.
Developing your internal capacity is important, but it's also part of the agenda that presents opportunities for banks, because the ESG, if you go through this program, you see that there are opportunities really beyond compliance, right? And those opportunities could be anything related to financing that may be related to things that you must put in place even before you actually advance facilities to your business or corporate clients, right? But it's also an important thing more from community perspective, but also from internal social perspective in terms of how do you treat employees, to how do you treat customers, to how do you source within your supply chain. So it's really important.
Recognizing the growing concern, the Bank of Ghana established the sustainable banking principles to guide the banking sector. However, effectively integrating sustainability requires a skilled and knowledgeable workforce. This is precisely where CIB Ghana and EPA's new programs comes in. The second Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Elsie Awaji, said there is more room for improvement to achieving environmental sustainability in the financial sector.
Among other things, the Corporate Governance Directive that we issued in 2018 for the banking sector, the Fit and Proper Persons Directive, which we issued in 2019, that helps us streamline and raise the standards for who can be on the boards of banks and who can be in senior management roles, as well as who can be shareholders of banks, all help to ensure that there are higher standards of governance in banks. We also launched the Corporate Governance Directive for Rural and Community Banks in 2021. And in 2022, we launched the Corporate Governance Disclosure Directive.
SG Bank is reaffirming its commitment to support the growth of the Ghanaian small and medium enterprises with an agreement to secure a $25 million from facility from the IFC, a member of the World Bank Group. According to the bank, this fund is dedicated to women-led small businesses as a form of empowerment to boost the operations. Here's more from a report ceremony to sign the partnership in Accra.
The partnership with the International Finance Corporation forms part of moves by the SG Bank to redirect support to key sectors of the Ghanaian economy. The bank has secured a $25 million fund from the IFC, which is expected to be used for SME sector, as well as developing sustainable solutions for women-led businesses. Managing Director of SG Bank, Hakeem Buzani, believes the move will complement other initiatives undertaken to support growth of the economy.
Regional Ghana has demonstrated all over the years that we really have as the heart of our strategy the SMEs and the development of this corporate activity in Ghana, which is one of the pillars which supports the growth of the economy. No, we are continuing with the same path, with a focus on the SMEs, which I remind SG Ghana has grown its portfolio more than 3 times in the last 4 years, which demonstrates here again the focus that we have on this particular segment of our corporates and the importance that it has in the economy. We are continuing the same path. We have the same I would say global strategy, I think, at different levels between SG as a bank and IFC as a financial institution.
Senior Country Manager of the IFC in Ghana, Carl Kelf, underscored the importance of the SME sector and reasons the IFC will continue to support their operations.
We provided financing for Society Generale of Ghana to support SMEs in general, but women-owned enterprises in particular. So this is a continued expansion with a $25 million line for support for SMEs, primarily women. Society Generale is a specific program to support women, so this aims to strengthen that. And this is part of supporting the Ghanaian banking sector as part of an increasing resilient recovery by the banking sector in support of access finance to SMEs in Ghana.
Through this collaboration, both partners are committed to empowering Ghanaian entrepreneurs and charting a course towards a sustainable and inclusive future.
That'll be all for business here on Newsday. For more news, visit myjoyonline.com for our business and get updates on what is happening from the world of business. We'll be back with more. Stay tuned.
Well, that's it for NewsDesk. For more news, please log on to myjoyonline.com. My name is Faustina Savo. Have a pleasant morning as you enjoy the rest of our programs.